Hello everyone, and welcome to another WARNO video. And today it's one that I have been waiting for literal years now, as this is the most impactful WARNO patch we ever got, and the most impactful WARNO patch we might ever get for the development of the game. And it has a massive amount of changes to modding. It has the fixes for the biggest exploit in the game, and it has some serious balance changes. So let's jump right in because we have a lot to talk about. And the first topic is the major improvement of the modding tools, which will push WARNO into the future, as we now can add our own models into the game, and those models can be, for example, created with Blender and then put into the game. There is a really long manual for all of this as well. And some of the Strike Team members already got ahead and made some lovely pink Abrams, but also, especially, already some really hot stuff, like Eurofighters, like the Eurocopters, like the Leclerc, and all of that stuff is something that you can put into the game, make it work, and let it roll, and let it play out in game. So, yeah, there is a lot of extra guides in the modding tools and so on. You can find the PDF on the Discord if you haven't joined yet, and Eugene will most likely share it as well. So yeah, all of that is amazing. It's gonna allow also for stuff like a StarCraft, a Star Wars, a Warhammer mod, and all of the classic stuff that you expect there, and whatever else people could expect. The Steel Division mod for WARNO with WARNO level graphics if people get some really good models together and all of that hot stuff. So really, WARNO just got basically future-proof because the community now can add their own content to the game. And that's not just only on these models, but it's also on the side of maps, as you can now also create your own maps and completely bake them and completely add them and completely play them, as can be seen here by maps of the amazing Woodenbox YouTube channel linked down below. He has guides on how to make maps over there as well, and this is Woodenbox's first map created with this and completely baked and completely played, as you can see on the pictures as well, with some helicopters flying there, and it looks really good. Like, the models that you can already use, the assets in the game, are already fantastic. Assets that you can add will come most likely in the future as well. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. There are still a couple of limitations, but we're getting rid of them, and you can bake and fully play them. So really fantastic thing here with the map editor. Another map that was in the making is the one by Embeds, where you can see here, if you're a fan of Supreme Commander, one of the worst nightmares of every player that doesn't enjoy a lot of naval in front of you, and then WARNO without naval. It's even more interesting to design, but Embeds loves his weird stuff. So yeah, Embeds here making a lovely map for everybody as well, and you can add your favorites of past RTS as well. And I'm also currently trying to figure out a tournament already for maps and trying to get Eugen to do it similar to the Team Liquid map contest that some of you might know from StarCraft 2, where the community creates maps, enters them into the pool. Eugen and I and some others might then check out the top 10 maps out of those, put them into a tournament play pool. Players will play those maps, and then the community and the players will vote on which of those maps that were played in front of the community are looking the coolest, and then those get added to the rank pool. That would be my absolute dream. I'm already in contact with Eugen to try to figure that out. Let's see if we can do that. It would be absolutely amazing if that works out. Let me know down below if you have more ideas about that, or if you want to help out with that. And yeah, really looking forward to all the amazing modding stuff that we will get around. And I hope to see all your maps in the future. So let's move on to the next bit. The next big part of this patch is the fix of the sound exploit, as that one finally got changed, so you can't hear engines across the map anymore. If we start here with the neutral view, for example in Spectate, you can hear engines are working fine. if we switch now to my perspective, all are gone. The way it works now is that units have a detection range for sound, and different units also have different noises, so you will hear helicopters, if we have a look, a bit earlier, even in the dark, than ground vehicles, which means that you can still spot them to some extent, but you can't spot them across the map. With ground vehicles, it's close to the range that you can spot them in visually as well. So you can kind of use it still for finding units, but that is only limited to the front line, no finding the enemy fob or anything like that. And that is a really good change. And the usage on the front line can even really be seen as a, like, feature and, like, a sound usage kind of thing, I guess. Whilst the battlefield still will have its oomph and its sounds around as well, so the good sounds that you can put into the game are still hearable and visible for your when you're in a fight as well, but you can't use it to detect enemy units anymore. So if you switch over here, it's only the background noises of the map here that are going on. Now we can hear the helicopter, even though my helicopters are still a good bit away. So as you can see, helicopters will still be hearable from a good fine distance. And we will start to hear cars now as well, just as they are coming around as well. So yeah, here we go. Aircraft are pretty noisy as well, though also not hearable over the full map either. So yeah, this is how it works, and it's a fantastic change. One of the biggest changes in WARNO history, most likely. And yeah, the biggest exploit at least removed with that. So I'm really, really happy with this one. Let's look into all the big balance changes that we got with this patch as well now. Balance changes are really plenty in this patch as well. And a couple of them are really overarching over everything, and they are really nice. First of them is a speed change to all ground vehicles. A slight speed reduction, but especially also a cleanup of all ground vehicle speeds. And as you can see, the 79 speed units were put to 75 or 80 kilometers ground speed. For example, the German Leo 2s go 80 now. And the Leo 1s and other tanks like the American M1A1 go 75 with clean 65 or 60 off-road speed numbers as well. The M1 goes 70 and 80, for example. 75 and 40 here for the M60 series. And then the normal transports, the Humvees, go 175. The truck variants go 90. If we have a look on infantry transport here, they go 90. And then off-road speed in clean numbers as well. Planes and helicopter speeds are still in uneven and ugly numbers, but hopefully will change at some point as well, with hopefully also a slight speed reduction for planes. And yeah, all of that also makes all these vehicles look more realistic on the ground, whilst you also have a bit of a balance change of that. Helicopter transport, for example, being a bit more viable, and ATGM having a bit more time to get onto target, so that the angles there have changed. ATGMs got another change as well, as all ATGMs got changed in their suppression value and cleaned up in their suppression value, based on caliber for the most part. 185 suppression, for example, for the Milan, 275 now for the TOW2s. And if you have a look at Soviet Conquerors, 245 here, and 215 for the Fagot. And numbers like that go on for the other ATGMs as well. Malyutka, 225 as well. So it's not a big advantage anymore for NATO, that for some reason had higher stress there on these things. Another cleanup that also helps Pact is that all of their AA vehicles that had a 5-length salvo, the Shilkas and the Priusas, now have a 10 salvo. And then that also brings us to AA guns in general. AA guns now don't have the malus against ground infantry anymore in their fire damage, in their HE damage. There was before a hidden modifier that reduced the HE damage from that they did to air against ground targets. So they now delete infantry units quite nicely. Plus, they work similar to heavy MGs with dealing soft damage to light armored vehicles. So you can use a Shilka now against soft or light armor vehicles like M113s, like light IFVs, and you can kill them off with your 23 millimeters or your 57 millimeter AA guns now as well. So AA guns are now the all-rounders that they're supposed to be on the battlefield. And that is a really, really good and really needed change as well. And a great addition to the game. Another change is to the Cocons and the Phalanga ATGMs on helicopters. Both of them now going up to 20 penetration. So Cocons, both the ground and the air variant, going up to 20 pen. And especially the Phalanga going up from 17 to 20 pen. Nice extra penetration power for packed, and really helping out the helicopter wing of them to deal with enemy armor. So helicopters off packed are really quite deadly now. And the Mi-24D with the 2 availability as an AT tool can be pretty powerful now. It's still a slow flying ATGM, the Phalanga. It has a lovely looking launcher now as well. So it's not super deadly, but it is a nice addition. Another change has been done to the Harrier, which has now a slightly higher speed, but more importantly, it has a turn radius reduction by 40%, so it turns a lot better, and it has a lot more agility, and can be used as a dogfighter really, really well now. So the Harrier AA actually might see some active usage now, and not just out of desperation like we saw in Burcom, but even Second UK. And Burcom will be used maybe now as a real fighter, really good helicopter hunter, and the bombers also can turn out of harm's way a bit quicker, really making the Harrier a solid plane. The Jaguars have been reduced in price, but also in ECM, so they went from 30 to 20 ECM as they were a bit overmodeled, and they now come with 20 ECM, but all got price changed a bit as well. And then we also have E-Warfare and jammer radiuses increased by 10%. So the jammers have a bit more range on the from the helicopters, and the E-Warfare also has a bit more range around all planes that are affected by it, helping out making these units a bit more useful. Though the E-Warfare plane's still a bit overpriced in my eyes. And then also all guns of planes have been increased in suppression. In fact, kind of making them less deadly in head-ons versus other planes, because both planes stress each out quicker, so it means that planes might kill each other less and end up more often turning away from each other when you send them into head-ons, if they don't hit each other with missiles directly. So, in fact, actually a nerf to plane deadliness, but an buff to the deterrence that planes can do against enemy bombers. If you run them frontally into an enemy bomber, even if you don't kill it, chances are you will turn it away now and force it back home. So yeah, those are these changes. Another one being that the ECM on Su-24s has been increased, and they have been made more agile as well. So another packed buff indirectly here as well. Su-24 is now being pretty smooth. And then we also will see a reload time increase on LGBs. It might be different than the one we have here, so that might change a bit as well. One more change has been done to helicopters. They also don't get stunned as quickly anymore. So you have chances of getting out when getting under fire by enemy AA, and you don't get immediately stunned anymore and lose control over your helicopters. So that is a nice change to micromobility as well. Should help out helicopters, which are pretty fragile when hit, so that they are a bit more micromobil. I think good change as well. If need be, AA can be buffed, but in general, a good change for the micromobility of units here in my eyes. And then the last big mechanic change affects the AVREs and all the other CAF kind of vehicles. All the support tanks with the big HE gun. These guns now behave like rockets. They don't get affected by building protection or forest protection and damage reduction. So the 3.2 HE that you see here is the real damage no matter what cover the enemy is in, meaning that you one-shot, for example, ATGM team with them if you hit them from range, and that really makes the Cav a really solid little unit. So Cavs now fantastic little siege weapons. And that brings us to the nation-based balance changes, where we start with the US, as per usual, where we have the M1 Abrams going down from 220 to 210 points. The M1A1 getting nerfed from 270 to 275 points. Its CV variant going up from 310 to 315. So M1A1 getting slightly nerfed again. M1 Abrams going slightly down, as yeah, it's a lot weaker here, and compared to the IPs, that's quite the difference. The National Guard one might go down in price a bit as well. As this is based on an older build, we will see how that goes. Otherwise, it might change in the future patch, as an omission here right now. And then the M60s go down a bit in availability. And so does the Recon Bradley. Recon Bradley going from 4 to 3. And all the National Guard M60s going down 1 from 9 to 8 for the Rise. TTS and TTS era going from 8 to 7. And the F-16s, AA and HE2, which is a new plane, going up in price. So the new plane just coming in at 275 points. We will see that in the division in a second. The HE2 being here for 275 points for 12 bombs, and then the AA2 going up from 225 to 230 points, so yet another nerf to the shotgun plane, being pretty close now to the price of the one with the Sparrows, as it still carries more missiles, but being only short range, so though the shotgun system really helping out the F-16 to see. Yeah, so this one is quite nice. Then we have a couple of fixes in the infantry tab with the Aero Rifles Aero Fireteam Dragons. This one going down to 40 points supposedly. Oh no, that's the airborne. Yeah, that goes from 40 to 45. The Aero Rifle Fireteam Dragon. This one goes down to 40. Exactly. So this one got nerfed by mistake, as it's the non-forward deploy one in the past. It's now the 40 points one. This is the 45 points one. That was a mistake before, so a nice buff to WARNO first, which there will be a couple of in this patch. Air Rifles 84, also going down 5 points. Another WARNO first buff. Aircraft Troopers going up a bit in price from 50 to 55, so that's a nerf to quite a couple American divisions. Aircraft Troopers in a good amount of divisions, as the units that come in Black Hawks, going up from 50 to 55 points for the 9-man squad. Quite in the nerf here to these divisions, but all of them are pretty strong divisions, so they deserve it. And the National Guard's ITO and the normal ITO going down from 5 to 4 availability. So the nerf to the ITO teams here, and the American ATGM ground-based availability. And then we have 2 American units that got a 4 weapon slot. We will see a couple of these changes as the first iteration of 4 weapon slots, 2 older units. And the first one hits the Green Beret here, which gets Smoke Grenade, and might get a price increase to 65 points with it. The next unit got really good with that, and that is the Delta, that got a Carl Gustav, and only a 5-point price increase. So it's a 6-man squad with a lot of firepower, special forces, and a Carl Gustav and forward deployment, helping WARNO first out a lot. The Delta's really scary here now, really strong unit with this Carl Gustav change. And yeah, that was their one major weakness, that they didn't have AT. Now they have a really solid AT weapon, helping out the Deltas quite a lot. Then the National Guard 50 cal went up a bit in availability. Berlin light rifles got just renamed into light rifles. And then we see the LRS being the next unit that got another weapon slot. The LRS, where is it? There it is, going up with a law, going up slightly in price as well. But yeah, that is a really big buff to this forward deploy unit and the American forward deploy detachment, which for a lot of them lacked any AT weapons, but now two of the most important ones have AT weapons as well. So only the basic scouts now coming without them, basically, and the National Guard scouts. But outside of that, now the Americans, from one second to another, somehow aren't having that weakness anymore. So that is a big buff to the American forward deployed detachments, and a really strong change for them. National Guard engineers, those are the big squadrons going down in availability. Ranger Dragons going down in availability from 65 as well. The M270s in the artillery tab going down in price, 300 for this one, same for the Mars and the British one. The HE even going down to 255. It was relatively weak for its previous price point, but this is a big buff, and it might absolutely be worthwhile now bringing it around. It's a lot more affordable. And then, just like the other AA pieces in this that have a gun, the pivots and the Vadash have been increased in price. Still think the Vadash are too harshly priced and compared to the pivots. I don't know why they cost the same when one has a vehicle and the other one doesn't. But they can now work nicely against infantry and against lightly armored vehicles, so the price is absolutely valid, and that's why these prices have changed. The Muley with the 50 cal, on the other hand, got a slight reduction in price, so that is a nice change as well. Little Muley here going down in price. And the Duster also lost a bit of anti-aircraft range, as it was a bit too effective for being such an old and manually guided weapon system against aircraft. So 2100 meter range against aircraft now. Helicopter range and especially anti-infantry capabilities now, though, really nice. So helping this thing out quite a bit. And then the Avenger has been increased in price, but also increased in availability, going up from 4 to 5 on base availability. And then we come to division changes. The Rangers and Ranger Dragons went up. The Ranger Dragons went up from base veterancy from 1 vet to 2 vet in 8th Infantry. So another light 8 Infantry buff with the M1 changes and so on. So that division should be a solid bit better again. 11th loses 1 card of the F-16 AT and loses 1 card of the F-16 cluster, so having only 1 card of each. Getting a new card of F-16C HEs, but no more heavy AT spam with F-16s in that division. So decent nerf there to the 11th, which still has the 8 hands and so on as well. So you still have good options there. You just can't spam those F-16 spams that you could put out beforehand. That was really numerous. And yeah, that's basically it for this nation. And the other divisions just got base veterancy changes based on the availability changes of some units. But the more important changes now come with the UK. And in the UK, we start with a buff to the Challenger Mark II, as it goes down another 5 points. So from 240 to 235 to 230 now. And 230, I think, is a solid price for it. That's where it kind of should be if you compare it to other vehicles around the block, like the M1 that just got buffed as well, or the M1 IP that is 240, that has the better accuracy and the better rate of fire, but 1 less pen. So yep, the Charlie is in a decent spot now, and really does a decent thing as well. The Centurion Mark V AVRE got an MG added to it. That's also in the tank tab. If we have a look here, the AVRE, where are you again? Here we are. Has 1 MG now added to it, so it can shoot a bit with that. And the Airmobile in the British Infantry tab went down in price from 65 to 55 points. Where are they again? The British Airmobiles. Finding, there we go. Law 80 for 55 points. This is a really strong sword for 55 points. So I would have even said it's a 60-point unit. If you compare it to the American infantry, they have a way better AT, and both are 55 points now. So Airmobile now, really nice buff for the 2nd UK. That division becomes scary again. SAS, another unit that got the 4 weapon slot added, and its addition is also really strong. So 2nd UK really is back on the menu, guys. With mini-me paras on this unit now, it has a decent mid-range and also more firepower on the 500-meter range, as the mini-me is really strong, and it can be used in CQC as well. Like, the mini-me is a fantastic weapon, and its addition of 2 of those really makes this unit fantastic and kind of removes its only major weakness. You will have to silence it sometimes on the medium range and just put these units on return fire until the enemy closes in on 500 meter, so you can use the full firepower of the 6 submachine guns as well. But in general, big buff to the SAS if used correctly. The Terrier leader went down in price, but that's not too important. It's a decent leader unit now at 40 points. Before at 50 points, it was quite expensive. Its mortar went down in 5 points. And then we have the first of the bad transports going down in price. I believe you can find them here. Yeah, all these lightly armored, only 7 millimeter MG kind of transports that we have a couple of in the game. All of those now went to 15 points from 20 points. So they might be worthwhile now to bring around as just a really cheap little fire support unit. The extra speed reduction compared to normal trucks is still there, but it's also a bit less prevalent now that everything is going a bit slower on the road. So yeah, in comparison to a Saxon, you pay 5 points less for the speed difference and so on, for example. So all of that makes these kind of little boxes now pretty worth considering. And yeah, the Spartan variants and so on. And this one went up in price, but like the Recon variants here went down in price, and the Recon FV went this one went down in price as well. So yeah, there have been a couple of price changes like that around other factions as well. Then the other changes have been done to the AA tab here, with the FSB1 going up in availability from 3 to 5. That is a nice thing. The FSA has been decreased in price to 85 points. That's already nice. And then its base availability went up from 6 to 8, so you get a lot of these. Really nice buff to Berliner and 2nd UK. And the tractor up here got its smoke launchers added that it has up here, so you can, if it misses against a helicopter, for example, you can smoke it off now if it is on reload, or if it gets under fire by any enemy other vehicle. The smoke really is a nice addition. It's really useful on the Gepards already. Tractor up here being a similar unit in its utility, though obviously firing a bit different, but the extra smoke really help out in this unit as well. So let's move on to the West Germans. And the West Germans got a reduction, an increase in price to both the Leo 1A1A1, which was really strong, and the Leo 2A4C, which is now called the Leo 2A4C, getting ready for the other Leo 2A4s that we will get with the Belgians. And yeah, both of them going up 5 points. Both deservedly so. The Leo 1A1A1 maybe the best light tank in the game right now. And for 85 points, it's still absolutely worthwhile. It's not a major change. Same goes for the 5 points on the Leo 2A4, which is now at the right price in my eyes as well. 275, pretty comparable to the M1A1 in strength, just working out a bit different. So that nerf absolutely deserved, as the Germans do go really strong right now. Alouette Führer, that has been reduced in price. The Alouette logistics vehicle, a leader unit that is not in any division right now though. So that is maybe for the future as well. Fallschirmjäger B1, which are currently only in TKS, but we will get more of them in MNAT. Got a Panzerfaust 3 added, so that is a nice change. and they are a really strong squad now, as they are insane in CQC, and they have a really good AT weapon, 21 damage, plus the solid range and accuracy on the Panzerfaust 3 make them a deadly AT weapon. And the Fallschirmjäger B1 really on a peak performance level, one of the best forward deploy units in the game now. It was already really good before, but now it also means that it can't get overrun by vehicles, which was its only major weakness before. And in combination with the Green Berets with their smoke nade, now you have an insanely scary forward deployment group, though the price has been increased on both of these units as well. On these guys, it has been increased heavily, from 65 to 80 points now. So the whole forward deploy game from TKS has been gotten a bit pricey now, if you want to play it like that. Mars has been reduced in price. The 105 here, for some reason, has been increased in price. I don't think this thing was worth 60 points. I don't think it's worth 65 points for the most part. But yeah, it went up to 65 points. And then the Jaguar has been increased in price as well, going up to 85 points. Deservedly so. This TOW2 vehicle with survivability of 6 frontal armor is really solid, so nerfing it here, absolutely fine move as well. As this was really strong, Gepard is going up in price, and A going up in price, just like with the other divisions as well. Gepard now being 95 points, but absolute shredder of infantry and light vehicles, so that is correct as well. In my eyes, the price there is fine. And then a pretty big nerf to both 2nd and 5th Panzer, 2nd Panzer Grenadier and 5th Panzer, is that all the Pioneers lose their Fuchs Milan transports. So you can only get the Fuchs Milans with Milan teams, with the Milan 1s and the Milan 2s. You don't get them on the Pioneers anymore, so you can't get that Fuchs ATGM Milan spam out anymore. So you will have to get your Martyrs if you want to have a lot of Milans, or bring your Milan 2 teams in those Milan Fuchses. And then the French, the next nation, where we see increases to the prices as well. Mirage LGB goes up in price. Their AA goes up in price as well. And the SAS of theirs, the Power SAS, gets a smoke grenade. So they don't get any AT. That's why they also don't change in price here. But the smoke grenade makes them a pretty strong infantry unit as well. And they are for sure quite helpful now as well. And in 11th, now having a smoke grenade, you can use that as a strong utility tool for their strong infantry to move around. I'm really interested to see in general how the bigger proliferation of smoke grenades now will change infantry play in general in WARNO. And if we're gonna see a couple more of those around, how that will affect the gameplay around the board. AA-wise, they're the Pamela here gets a bit cheaper and a bit more available. So that is another nice buff to them. And then we have a couple of recon vehicles going up in price, including the AML Seer going up to 55 points, and the VBL Recon now going up to 40 points. So a couple of price nerfs there. And yeah, I feel like this thing going constantly up though. Not sure if that's really the right thing. 40 points seems pretty expensive, but it has very good optics. So yeah, might be right, as you still see it a lot around for 35 points. So that might just be because it's a nice unit, but it's a dangerous thing to increase the price on. 40 points still relatively cheap though, so I'm not super worried about it. Then we come to the Soviets, where we have the BMD-2 increase in price from 50 to 55 points. The BMP-2 AEG got a 4 weapon slot with a PKT, so it now has all the firepower it should have. Still pretty expensive. And the grenade launcher, I'm not sure how worthwhile this thing is. I believe the weapon might have already been there, just not modeled in the stats cards. So that doesn't change much. When it comes to MBTs, the T-64s now are a good bit better. The T64 also got their PKTs added, but also more importantly, the T64B got better availability, going up from 4 to 5 base availability, and the T64BV went from 260 to 255 points in price, so a nice buff to 6, and also preparation for the 25th coming in the Norfolk DLC. Then we have some changes to the AAs as well. The Recon AA actually going down to 85 points while being improved in damage output. So the ZSU-23, really now that it can shred light vehicles and that it can shred infantry, plus being only 85 points, might be worthwhile. We will have to see. It went from D tier possibly to B or A tier now. We'll have to see how that works out. BRDM2 gets similar to the French 5 points price increase, but the BRM1 went down to 50 points. So that is a nice buff to the exceptional optics vehicle that you want to put into your tank pushes. And yeah, that's a nice change here for the Soviets. And then a couple of other buffs have happened to their air tab. Lots of their MiG-23s and MiG-27s went up down in price or up in availability. The MiG-23 ML here going down to 145 points. That is deserved. Might still be slightly overpriced. I think it's like a 140 to 135 point plane even, as it doesn't have the shotgun system for its 6 R60Ms. So yeah, it's not that scary of a plane, the R60M being a bad air-to-air MSL. But at least it got some buff here, which might help out 79th and 35th if you want to pick this plane. Then the MiG-27s, the HEs and the rockets and the M-AT, so these here, the M family, went up from 2 to 3 availability. They don't have air-to-air missiles next to them, so they can't help out as air-to-air, but yeah, the HE, Napalm, Rocket, and AT went going up to 3 availability, and the seat variant of the MiG-27, the MiG-27K seat here, that one goes down in price to 230 points now, so Soviet Air a bit better here. The Su-24 ECM buff we already talked about, and plus the agility buff, so these are now on par with Tornadoes as a attack aircraft, but they don't have air-to-air missiles, unlike the Tornadoes. Though still a nice increase to the quality here. Su-25 cluster, for some reason, goes up in price. I don't think it's better than the AT here. I think for 175 points it was on a good price point compared to the AT, or maybe even already overpriced. So yeah, for 185, not the biggest fan of this now. But yeah, this one got nerfed. The Spets Grouper A, another unit that got a 4th weapon slot added. That's this unit. They are now a satchel charge with AT weapon 2 unit as well, 10 hit points, and a law now. So that is a nice buff to 6 once more. So the T64 buffs and the law here, nice buffs, really, really strong buffs to 6. And then we have some changes to the AT weapons or ATGM weapons. The Fagot teams going down from 9 to 8 base availability. All the SPG-9s going up from 6 to 7 base availability. A bit of shifting around there. The Igla teams going down in price. That is an interesting change to all the AA. They going down 5 points in price. So Iglas are now more affordable. And that will be helping out Soviet AA a decent amount as well. The Spetsnaz Stinger is the next unit. I forgot here that they have a 4th weapon slot now as well. They get another smoke, so the 3rd unit with smoke added in this. So that will be interesting as well. 56 there can use that quite nicely. They can use it here to escape enemy fire nicely with this as well. And then we have a couple of changes to artillery with the normal Crud going up in price, the BM-21 Crud. This merge somehow going 5 points down. Not a really big change, but I also don't get why, because this merge absolutely hits like a truck. It's a really strong weapon. So not quite sure where this price change comes from. The Hyacinth, the Toad one. This one here going down to 125 points. So that is an interesting change. Whilst we have the D30s. The D20 is going 152, going down in price. D20, yeah, here going down to 115. And the D30 is going down to 100 points. So buffs to the total artillery pieces of the Soviets. Mazda going down to 125 as well. And yeah, those changes all are quite nice for this division. And the BTR-D ATGM vehicle going down up from 25 to 30 points. It was a nice ATGM spam vehicle. 30 points still fine, I think you can use that. MTLB Storm going up in price from 65 to 70 points with a massive buff to the Cocon that it already got in speed last patch. Plus now the buff in AP that is absolutely warranted. It's really worth it now. The Cocon with the speed buff and the AP buff is a really strong ATGM. So the Storm, 70 points. You absolutely take that still. Coops going up in base availability. That's nice. BRDM2 Strela 1s going down in price. And then all the ZSUs and users and so going up in price because they have the guns that can kill stuff now. So that is a lot of changes. But yeah, Coop base availability going up from 3 to 4. We'll have it packed with long range AA as well. So yeah, there's a lot of buff to packed AA here. Strela 1 becoming more cost efficient is a big buff as well. So yeah, packed really getting a solid amounts or numbers of buffs here in this patch, and a couple of the divisions for sure will be more viable thanks to that. And then we go over to the East Germans. The East Germans obviously get the buff on the units they share with the Soviets, like the BRM-1 going down in price, and also the AA units like the Kup getting the buff. That they got, the Iglas getting the buff, that the packed ones got, the Strela 1 getting the buff. So really nice changes here for them as well. Same for the artillery pieces and SPG-9s, and forgot changes in availability. And then we also have some changes to their tanks with the T-72, the normal one, going down in price from 135 to 130. The MK1 going down in price to 175 points. And then the M1 gets an availability buff and a price decrease as well from 170 to 160. And then also availability buff from 5 to 6 base availability. So the T-72 M1, good bit stronger as well. 7th now, possibly back in the range of being viable. In the air tab, the MiG-23BN, which already was a pretty solid bomber, and more now gets higher availability of 3. That's the one over here, this HE bomber. Now goes up in availability from 2 to 3. And the KMU goes down in price. That is the cluster one. So nice buff to Rügner in that regard. And then we have also some changes to the SUs, which SU-22s, one going down in price here with the HE2 from 280 to 275 points. And then also some availability upgrade to the UPK here, going from 2 to 3. So a decent buff to the, but small buff in general here to these guys. The SPW Fug, which is like a light little recon vehicle here, going up to good stealth. That can be nice for the Berliner to keep this thing safe and out of harm's way. Meanwhile, SPW 40P also going up in price here. That's just the same as for the other units with similar units here that we already talked about. The Mehrfach-Raketenwerfer RM70 going up to 240 points. That's fair as well. It's a bit better. It's really strong, and it's a bit better than the Grad, so going up a bit more in price is fair as well. And then all the AA guns going up in price that we don't really have to talk about. And then we have some... Yeah, that's it for the changes here in general. military strife going down in availability. So yeah, that's all the changes here. Let's talk about the new map that we got. And yeah, for the last bit, we have a look on the two new maps, or the one fully new map, and then the recuts of Urban Frontlines for 1v1. This here is Railroads, a map that is pretty cool with this Omega big rail yard in the middle with a lot of railway cars, and they give cover. So with destruction you can clear the way, but beforehand the railway cars are a bit of a labyrinth and a nice breaker here, so it's not a just big open screen in the middle of the map. You can get through them and hide your way through. You have a bit of a village here on the left side as well, and then you have here a river, and yeah, a couple new assets for sure on this map as well. So for the map editor, that is helpful as well, though most of it is old used stuff as well. I'm looking forward to what you guys can do with that in the map editor, and I'm really hyped for all of this stuff to come. And then the new rank map is Urban Frontlines 1v1 that cut off a bit of slack on the sides, is focused down more towards the center. 9 zones, so 9 points at least. 3 center zones, so you can get a tick on this map quite quickly. All zones are somewhat pushable as well, with Delta and Gulf being the least pushable. The other ones all quite pushable, and a lot of center fighting here, but also decent enough open spaces for some tank actions. Plus the middle here is also more open than on some other maps. So yeah, Urban Frontlines 1v1. Not ticking too fast because everything is +1 in the center. Wish these two zones would be +2, then we would have a 11 pointer. That would be perfect in my eyes, but 9 is better than 8, so I'm somewhat happy with this. Really looking forward to it in tournaments. And general, just ranked as well. Finally, another ranked map.